and now a very different religion, but another religion that has its hearth in this area, Sikhism. Okay? And more properly, the word is said Sikh, but that sounds very weird to our English ears, English speaking ears. So people here tend to say it more Sikh, but more properly, it should be pronounced more like Sikh. So Sikhism. Um, and remember that this is a religion that is found here in towards the north of India in a single state, in the state of Punjab. Okay? So this religion, Sikhism, this is a monotheistic religion. Okay? So we've got a single concept of the deity, a single god, and it focuses on equality of all. And so this is a rejection of the caste system that is very much entrenched within Hinduism and had been for a very long time in this area. The caste system is officially outlawed in India now, but for most of the history of this area, the caste system was very much a part of daily life and people's lives. And so there were a series of gurus, meaning teacher or leader, who rejected the idea of the caste system, of different levels of a hierarchy where some people were seen as more pure and as better or at a higher level in society, and there were people who were below them and seen as less than. Including the people who sometimes were referred to as the untouchables. They're more properly called the Dalits, and these gurus rejected that. They felt that that was unacceptable, that everyone should be equal. And in fact, men and women are also seen as equal in this religion. They have the equal right to speak and to hold station within the religion. Um, and they are very much seen as equal partners. Yeah? This religion also stresses the importance of doing good actions, of going out into the world and performing good deeds, helping people around the world, rather than merely carrying out rituals. Okay? There are about 25 million people in the world who are Sikhs, and most of them live in India. About 75% of them still live in Punjab. That number, the 25 million people, that makes this the world's fifth largest religion. Okay, so with population size here, we have some really important pieces of world religions here. And there's a sacred site, their most holy shrine, their most holy temple, is the Golden Temple in a city called Amritsar in Punjab. And you can see why this is called the Golden Temple. Here it is. It is in the middle of a small kind of lake. I think it's man-made. It's surrounded by a large temple structure, and then this is there's a walkway that extends like this, and then here we have the Golden Temple, and clearly you can see why it's called that. At this temple complex, we have the world's largest daily meal. As part of that devotion to doing good deeds, Sikhs feed the community. They do outreach to people who need help. And so they serve the largest meal. They literally welcome hundreds of thousands of people with throughout a week. And anyone can come. It's a vegetarian meal so that all may enjoy it. And you are welcomed, and you eat together and share community. And so this area here in Amritsar is where that happens. You may recognize the turbans, which is one of the exterior signs of a Sikh man. They do not cut their hair, and so one of the ways that then they control their hair is they put it up in a turban. But this is another case of people covering their head as a sign to God, a sign of their faith. Right? Just like we talked about with veiling in Islam. But here, men and women do wear this head covering, but it does tend to be more men than women. Okay? Men are also very strongly linked to being soldiers and bodyguards. Here are a number of Sikhs in an army. This is a man who is a Sikh in the London police. And so there's a very strong tradition. They have been warriors and bodyguards for a very long time. And so they're very well known for that as well. Okay. I have some videos and some information for you linked below. Let me know what questions you have about the Sikhs, because it is a fascinating religion. Okay. And then just a couple other quick thoughts, and then we'll get to Bollywood in the next section. We talked about Nepal and Bhutan, mostly Bhutan, when we talked about gross national happiness in the Zoom meeting. But I just wanted to review really quickly that the majority religion in Nepal is Hinduism, right? And in Bhutan, it's Buddhism. Right? And then remember that the links to gross national happiness, see the links in the Zoom session for the week from last week, from the week of the 2nd of November. Okay? So, a couple more thoughts here. One of the things that we see with globalization, of course, is the spread of culture, of different ideas moving and diffusing around the world. And the globalization of culture from South Asia really began with British colonialism. People would go to India, right? Largely men at first, with the East India Company, for example, or in the army. And then they would be there for a while, and then they would return to England or Scotland, Wales, right? Somewhere in Britain. And they would bring things back with them: the food, the spices, art, stories and beliefs, right? Those kinds of things. So this globalization of culture from this area began with British colonialism and has only continued. We saw this when we talked about chicken tikka masala, right? The fact that this Indian dish is now seen all over the world, but it was originally created in London by people who had migrated, right, during colonialism, people from India who had moved to London, and they started to try to appeal to British tastes. And so they added more coconut milk to the curry. They altered a few things, and it became chicken tikka masala. Right? Indians have also migrated all over the world now and brought their culture with them. We see this in the growing popularity of things like yoga and meditation in some cases, and a lot of art and motifs. Right? I took these pictures from a catalog I got recently. Elephants and this kind of intricate carving, peacocks, bracelets like this. Right? All of these are pieces of that globalization of culture. You may have seen a lot of color runs lately. That idea of throwing chalk in celebration and having these bursts of color, that actually came from an Indian festival called Holi, Holi. And then you may have also have heard more about Diwali the last few years, which is the harvest festival, the festival of lights that is in the fall. This is an episode of The Office, for example, from a few years ago, where they talk about Diwali and have a Diwali celebration. Okay. Another example that is maybe somewhat less positive is what can happen when globalization spreads culture and people don't understand and are not being respectful. Okay? And this example has to do with this god. Do you know who this one is? This is the elephant-faced god. This is an entity known as Ganesh or Ganesha. And Ganesh is the god of new beginnings, the god of good luck. So if you're starting a new business or you're starting the school year, right, you would pray to Ganesh and ask for blessings and good luck. Most people have a little statue of Ganesh in their homes because he's a very, very popular god. Well, as part of this globalization of culture, of people being interested in Indian motifs and Indian art, a couple years ago, American Eagle Outfitters produced this pair of flip-flops that had Ganesh on them. So what is the problem here? Why was this a cultural misunderstanding and a clash of cultures? Well, because in many parts of Asia, including South Asia, the bottom of the foot is seen as the dirtiest part of the body. You would never show someone the bottom of your foot, for example. And in some places, even stepping over someone can be seen as a huge insult. You may have heard of a few years ago when President Bush, the second President Bush, was in Iraq, a reporter threw a shoe at him. And that was linked to this idea of the foot being a very dirty part of the body. That was a grave insult. And so the fact that American Eagle Outfitters put out a pair of shoes that had this god on them meant that people were literally stepping on this god and disrespecting this god by putting their feet on him. So this led to a formal apology from American Eagle Outfitters, and they were withdrawn from the market. But this is why we need to learn about other cultures, why we need to be careful as we're diffusing things and as we are seeing globalization at work, because we can have very significant cultural misunderstandings that can increase conflict. And we don't want to do that. We want to be respectful of other cultures and really be able to work together. Okay? All right, so there's a couple thoughts about that. We are going to come back and talk about Bollywood.